All right, welcome back everybody to a brand new video here on the second channel, and today I've got 15 new Destined Rivals deck lists to show off for you all that you can build when the set does drop tomorrow on Pokemon TCG Live. Honestly, there's so many new decks from this set that I easily could have made this like a 20 deck video, but I wanted to keep it to 15, and I chose 15 of the best decks to build from the new set that are going to be the most fun to play around with. Hopefully this video does help you out if you're looking for any fun decks to build when the new set does drop tomorrow. And if you go on to enjoy the video, leave a like, and if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe down below as always. And yeah, let's get into today's video. All right, the first deck I wanted to look at was Cynthias Garchomp. Now, I want to say I got a lot of these deck lists from the City League results in Japan on Limitless, and also got some of them from Book, if you're wondering where these lists are from. But yeah, we have Cynthias Garchomp here. I think this deck is fairly powerful and has potential in our meta, mainly because Garchomp hits like a truck. It can do 260 damage for 2 fighting energy. You can play Roserade here in the deck, as you see, which can increase Garchomp's damage output. I did a IRL deck profile video on Cynthia's Garchomp Roserade. If you want to go watch that video, you can after this. You want to see me go a little bit more in depth with the deck. But I think Garchomp is really strong. You have Spiritomb, which can be a really good attacker. It's a dark type Pokemon, which is relevant. You have the new Cynthia's Power Wave tool card to give your Garchomp 400 HP, making it even harder to knock out. Garchomp's first attack does draw you cards. I like the addition of Monkey Dory in the deck to heal and do even more damage, technically, with Adrenaline Brain. I think Cynthia's Garchomp with Roserade is fairly powerful. I have seen some Garchomp builds playing it with Frostlass instead of Roserade, but I think Roserade is just better. I think if you're going to play Frostlass Garchomp, you'd rather just play Grimmsnarl at that point. Like, it's just a better version of that deck. But yeah, I think this deck is good, and I want Garchomp to be playable so badly. I think this deck has a lot of potential, and I'm a big fan of the Cynthia archetype, so hopefully we can try this out when it drops. It is nice that Fire-type Pokemon finally have some decent energy acceleration back in the format, in the form of Ethan's Hobo, which when it's in the active spot, you can attach 2 Fire Energy cards from your hand to your benched Ethan's Pokemon. This is how you're going to build up your Magcargo, which has an attack that does 70 damage, discard up to 5 Fire Energy from the Magcargo, do 70 damage for each one discarded, so the Magcargo can hit really, really hard and take knockouts, and you charge it up pretty easily with Ethan's Hobo. Now, this build is definitely going to just be utilizing mostly just the 4 Hobo, just trying to utilize the Hobo's ability the best you can. You have Latiuses and Mews in the deck. The free retreat that Latius gives Hobo is nice. The Mew and Fez combo gives you a little bit of draw. It's a pretty straightforward deck. As you can see, there isn't any Ethan's Adventures in the deck or anything. We're not really trying to utilize the Quilava or the Typhlosion in here. We're just trying to be straightforward with what we can do with our Hobo. We do have the 4 Earthen Vessel in the deck and the 4 Superior Energy Retrieval here, which can recover the energy and fine energy out of the deck without really needing that Ethan's Adventure to help you out. And Magcargo can be a nice one-prize attacker that can do big damage thanks to Hobo. So this deck could be pretty good, and I think the Ethan's Hobo definitely does help fire types out a lot, as fire types right now are a little bit on the mediocre side. It seems like there's a lot of new Frostlass partners popping up within the new set. We've already seen Grimmsnarl, but now we have Arboliva here, which has an attack which for 1 Grass Energy lets you do 20 damage to your opponent's Pokemon at 6 times. Now, this is really strong because you can put a lot of damage on the board. It's a pretty strong snipe attack. You could do 120 damage in total, and you can pick multiple different Pokemon. So you can hit something for 40, and then something for 40, and then something for 20. So really strong little spread attack there. And when you combine that with the power of Adrenaline Brain and Frostlass's Freezing Shroud, you can really do a lot of spread damage. I think that's the best way to play the Arboliva EX here, is to pair it with Frostlass to make the spread attack even stronger. Now, this card is hindered by potentially Shaman being in the format, which is why it is nice to have a card like Frostlass and Monkey Dory in the format, because all that spread damage you can apply with those 2 cards can easily knock out the Shaman, so that you can start attacking a bit easier with the Arboliva. It is a Stage 2 Pokemon, but that's fine, though, because you can early on use Budu, slow down your opponent while you build up your Arboliva. And if your opponent's not able to set up nice enough and fast enough, you can easily go for a fast Arboliva and start picking things off with its strong attack, and then also spreading all that damage with the Frostlass Monkey Dory deck. I'm definitely interested to try this deck out because it could be another really powerful way to play Frostlass. Well, I hate to break it to you, but these wall decks might be getting even stronger with Destined Rivals, and that's because of the brand new Crustle, which is basically a Stage 1 version of the Aegislash. It's got an ability where it's immune to Pokemon EXs and has an attack that does 120 damage. And the best way to build Crustle could be just pairing it with Ogerpon and the Monkey Dory. The Cornerstone does provide you a little bit of extra protection in other matchups where your opponent uses abilities, and then the Crustle is just flat out immune to Pokemon EXs, which a lot of decks might be relying a little bit heavily on the X side of things. And if they can't get over 1 Crustle, can they get over 2 Crustles or even 3 Crustles? You can put a Luxurious Cape on it to make your Crustles even tankier. You have the Pokevital A-Spec card to heal it if they're trying to attack into it. And even the Crustle doing 120 damage is pretty powerful. It can put on a lot of pressure. There is the triple Crustle, Monkey Dory in the deck alongside the 4 Crispin to really heal a lot of the damage you're trying to do. So anytime you try to break through this Crustle, they're just going to spam all that damage back at you with Monkey Dory. They have some healing options with the Poke Vital A, and with the Luxurious Capes, you're definitely going to be having a hard time one-shotting these Crustles. This new wall deck could be pretty annoying to play against, and I'm not really looking forward to it if it actually takes off, but we'll have to see on that, because Crustle is a very strong card, and this type of wall approach could be the best way to play it in our new format, and this deck actually could be legit if nobody respects Crustle. Of course, we got to talk about the big new deck from the set, Team Rocket's Mewtwo EX. Now, this deck has a lot of potential. Now, even if it's not going to be good right off the bat, I think this deck will eventually be good at some point. It has to be. There is so much support behind this deck. Mewtwo has an attack that can do 280 damage. You have to discard 2 energy from your bench Pokemon. That's why you have the Team Rocket Spidops, which has an ability lets you attach energy from your discard pile to the Spidops. You can use this ability to charge up Mewtwo's attack over and over again and loop the 280 damage. You have other supporting roles like the Articuno, which can make your Mewtwo immune just like Phantom Dive and Paralysis and Sleep and Poison. And then you have the Mimikyu, which can copy Terra Pokemon attacks, Wobbuffet, which can deflect the damage. Because did I mention Mewtwo has a whopping 280 HP. It is very bulky. The only thing with Mewtwo, though, is you have to have 4 or more Team Rocket's Pokemon in place. You have to build your deck mostly around just Team Rocket's Pokemon, but that's fine. Mewtwo is weak to Dark, which is going to be a little annoying when playing against Charizard or Grimmsnarl, but Team Rocket Spidops is a grass type that can do 30 damage for each of your Team Rocket's Pokemon in place, so use the Spidops as a way to counter the Dark type Pokemon for the Mewtwo. So you kind of have some synergy between the two cards there in general, and of course I like Max Belt as the ace-spec so Mewtwo could do more damage. The thing with this deck is it also utilizes the Team Rocket supporter engine, the Ariana, which can draw you up to 8 cards if all your Pokemon in play are Rocket's Pokemon. The deck basically has access to Guzma with the Team Rocket's Giovanni, and you even have some hand disruption with the Team Rocket's Archer. I think this deck has potential, and again, even if it's not great right off the bat, I think the Team Rocket's Mewtwo deck has to be good eventually, and I cannot wait to try it out when it releases. One of the more fun one-prize decks to come out of this set is easily going to be the Misty's Gyarados deck. Now, Gyarados has an attack that lets you look at the top 7 cards of your deck and discard all the Misty's Pokemon you find there into 70 damage for each one discarded in this way. Now, this is a very strong attack if you play a ton of Misty Pokemon in the deck, because then you have a really high chance of just hitting nothing but Misty's Pokemon. And of course, we do have a lot of good cards we can pair within this deck to make the deck stronger, like Sacred Ash, which allows you to shuffle 5 Pokemon back into your deck. You have Academy at Night to guarantee that a Misty Pokemon will be on top. And then, of course, you have the Misty Psyduck, which has an ability that actually allows itself to be put on top of your deck. So while we do have a good amount of Misty's Pokemon to choose from, it'll still be a fun one-prize deck. Nothing too crazy. These type of like discard the top card of your deck type decks are never really like anything super competitive, but they're always a lot of fun to play. And with the amount of Pokemon recovery we now have in the format with Super Rod, we have the Sacred Ash. This deck even plays Miriam. This deck definitely can chain attacks pretty easily, and especially as Gyarados only needs 1 water. It is nice. Magikarp also can't be damaged by attacks on the bench, so you actually can't even get Phantom Dived, which is going to be very important when playing in Dragapult, and Gyarados can one-hit KO almost anything in the active spot. This one is going to be a lot of fun to play, and I cannot wait to try this out, because I always love these type of discard the top card of your deck type decks. Yanmega EX is easily one of the cards that I am looking forward to trying out the most and cooking up ideas with, because I think this card actually is very powerful. It's a 280 HP Stage 1 Pokemon with an ability where when it moves into the active spot, you get to search your deck for 3 grass energy and attach it to the Yanmega. So its own ability builds itself up, and then you have an attack that does 210 damage, and then you have to move 3 energy off the Yanmega to one of your bench Pokemon. Now, the idea of this is that you use the Yanmega to build itself up and then hit really hard. It is a grass type, which will be really good to have against Grimmsnarl and Charizard, and then you can move the energy to a bench Pokemon. One of the nice targets to move to could be something like Iron Hands EX, which I think is a really smart idea, because you can use the Omega to move the energy onto your Iron Hands. You can build up the Iron Hands very easily, because you have to move 3 energy onto it, and then the following turn, all you have to do is just put a Light Energy card onto the Iron Hands. You can easily power up Ampy very much and start taking 2 prizes. This combo does seem kind of scary and could be fun to try out. You can even play it with Crustle. As you can see, this list here I got does have the 1/1 Crustle, which Crustle could be a really good partner to have at Yanmega, so you give yourself a little bit of wall protection. You can use Teal Mask Ogerpon, as you can see here, to use Energy Switch to move the energies onto Yanmega, so you can attack with it over and over again, as you do have to move 3 energy, but again, when you're switching it out of the active spot, you can easily just get the energy back onto the Yanmega. Again, I cannot wait to try this card out, because I think it has a lot of potential, and being a grass type in this economy won't be too bad going into this new format. Persian EX is one of the most wild EX cards from this new set, and while you can't really build a deck around Persian, I think that its attack is really good in the early game, and in this build here, we are going to be pairing it with Spidops as your backup attacker. Now, Persian's got an attack that allows you to look at the top 10 cards of your opponent's deck, and then you choose a Pokemon's attack you find there, and then copy it, only for just a rocket energy, which is very powerful, because you just need 1 energy, and you can copy any attack. And in the early game, when your opponent still has all their really strong cards in the deck still, you have a higher chance of hitting a better attack for Persian to copy. Like, imagine just randomly copying Phantom Dive early on in the game or something. That could be pretty dang devastating. So I cannot wait to give Persian a try. But again, as the game goes on, it does get a little bit weaker, which is why you need to play it with a different attacker. And in this build, it is going to be with Spidops, which can do 30 damage for each of your Team Rocket's Pokemon in play. And again, being a grass type won't be terrible either against decks like Grimmsnarl and against Charizard EX. You have a nice backup attacker. The deck does play the Mimikyu in the deck too to have another attacker. You can definitely play other Team Rocket cards. Like if you want, you can probably play like a one of Mewtwo in here. You could put the Articuno in the deck. You could even try out a Crobat line in here to give yourself some extra attackers to work with, because I think Persian in the early game is really strong, but again, I think it does drop off as the game goes on. But I did want to show off a list that utilizes Persian, because I think this card is decent and actually will be so much fun to play, and it'll be crazy to just randomly hit a good attack like on your second turn. Just imagine, again, copying Phantom Dive out of nowhere. Another one-price deck I'm looking forward to trying out is the Team Rocket's Wheezing deck, as Wheezing's got a really strong attack that is 40 damage for each Wheezing and Coughing card in play. Now, this includes both the normal Coughing and Wheezing cards and the Team Rocket one, meaning you can like have 16 of these in your deck, which is kind of crazy. And the attack does work for a single Team Rocket's energy, so it can work for one energy. You can fill up your board. You can even play this with like Area 0 if you really wanted to increase your bench size even more, to bench even more Coughing and Wheezing. In this build, though, we are going to be utilizing the Team Rocket's engine, which makes a lot of sense, as we'll probably just want to build the deck with the Team Rocket's Pokemon, only using the Ariana. We have the Archer and the Proton, which can help set up the deck a little bit. We also have the Giovanni, so you get Guzma. The Team Rocket's Factory gives you a little bit of extra draw, because you have to just play Wheezing and Coughings and stuff. You don't really have a draw engine, but this is where having the Rocket's Factory will be nice to have. And then, of course, I like the idea of Neutralization Zone, because you can stick that in the late game, because you play so many Team Rocket's Factories. Neutralization Zone can easily shut your opponent out of the game. Some other backup attackers you can have is like the Sneasel, which can snipe stuff, and then you have the Mimikyu, which can, again, copy the Terra Pokemon. This build I saw did have a Luxray in it. I don't think you really need to play the Luxray, but it is a Lightning-type Pokemon, so I don't know if you run into a deck weak to Lightning, I guess you could use it. But I'm not a big fan of the Luxray because it doesn't synergize with the Ariana, so I would probably still cut the Luxray, but I like the idea of this deck. I think Neutralization Zone is probably going to be the best stadium to play with the Team Rocket's Wheezing in general. Primal Groudon is back with the brand new Titan, which has an ability where it can't be damaged by supporters and item cards, meaning that you can't get bossed out. So the idea of the Titan is you want to sit behind something in the active spot that can slow down your opponent. In this case, there is going to be Klefki, which you can put in the active spot, shut off your opponent's abilities for a bit while you slowly build up your Titan. Now, the best way to build it up is going to be with Turbo Energize. We see 2 copies of TM Turbo Energize, which you can use to put 2 energy on the Titan, because it does need 4 energy, but its attack is really powerful, as it does 140 damage. If you discard a Stadium card in play, you get to do 140 more damage, doing 280 damage in total. This is literally like the exact same thing as Primal Groudon. Max Belt as the Ace Spec makes sense so that this thing can start one-shotting stuff like Dragapulse. Monkey Dory's in the deck for some extra healing. I mean, the Titan does have a whopping 300 HP, making it very, very bulky. And again, sitting behind Klefki seems pretty good. There's other walls you can potentially sit behind too. Like if you want, you can sit behind like a Maractus, which if it gets attacked, they'll take 50 damage. You can utilize Budu, but Budu doesn't like affect your opponent with an ability. So I still think Klefki is like the best partner. But even then, when the new Jellicent EX comes out, that could be even fun to play within this deck. I mean, it could be cool if you could fit this with Tyranitar, as it can item lock your opponent while you sit behind the Tyranitar. You can build up your Titan. That seems a little bit slow, as you have to use Rare Candy, but maybe there's some potential for that idea. But yeah, I can't wait to try out the Titan, as it's going to be really cool to revisit the old Primal Groudon deck. Another Team Rocket archetype you might want to try out is going to be the Team Rocket's Crobat. Now, there's a lot of ways you can build a Team Rocket's Crobat deck. You can play it with Dragapult to make your spread attack even stronger. You have it with Archaludon, which is another partner I've seen. But what about playing Crobat with just Spidops as an old Team Rocket engine-focused deck? As you see, once again, playing all the Team Rocket supporter cards and having Spidops as your backup attacker. I think Spidops is a really strong card. Well, it's really nice with Mewtwo. Even just playing it with other Team Rocket's cards like the Crobat or the Persian makes a lot of sense, as just being a strong grass-type Pokemon that can hit really hard isn't really going to be a bad thing in this new meta. And Crobat can let you do even more damage, as Golbat has an ability. When you evolve it from your Zubat, you can put 2 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon, and then you have Crobat, which can put 2 damage counters on 2 of your opponent's Pokemon. So it allows you to do even more damage for your Spidops, allowing you to effectively hit like over 200 plus damage out of nowhere, and Spidops, again, being able to attack fairly easily. Crobat's not a bad attacker either, which for one Team Rocket's energy, you do 120 damage, and you can put the Crobat back in your hand. The only problem is you have to discard all the cards on the Crobat, so you'd have to discard the Team Rocket's energy, which I'm not a big fan of, but I think the Crobat ability is just so strong regardless that it is worth playing in this style of deck. Again, there's other ways to play Crobat, like with Dragapult or with Archaludon, but I like the idea of playing it as its own Team Rocket engine-focused deck with Spidops, as it seems pretty good too. And yeah, this card is going to be very versatile, so you definitely want to get your Crobats now before they potentially go up in price. One of the more strong one-price decks to come out of this new set is going to be the Porygon Z deck, which once again uses all the Team Rocket supporter cards, as Porygon Z does 20 damage for each Team Rocket supporter card in your discard pile. It has an ability that lets you discard 2 cards from your hand, draw a card. Well, that's not like the greatest compared to like Zoroark's trade. Well, you are going to discard 2 Team Rocket supporter cards, so it does let you do more damage for your Porygon. It gives you a mild draw engine, and it makes sense too, because Porygon can attack for 1 energy with the Team Rocket's energy. We have the reversal energy also in the deck, which is another way Porygon Z can attack for 1 energy if you're behind in prizes. And again, just playing all the Team Rocket supporter cards, just max it all out, because you want to be doing as much damage as you can with the Porygon, so you want to play all the Team Rocket supporter cards. You could probably fit a 4th Petrol. The deck does play Psyduck. We're not getting Psyduck, so any list here that you see had a Psyduck in it, just remove the Psyduck for like another card that you want. But in this case, you'd probably cut the Psyduck for a 4th Petrol, so then you have all the Team Rocket supporters in the deck. You do have Brilliant Blender as your ace spec, discard all the supporters to do even more damage out of nowhere. You can still play the Mimikyu as backup attacker, and while you do need Rare Candy, the Ariana and the Team Rocket's Factory can draw you a decent amount of cards alongside Porygon's own ability, so you can easily find your Rare Candy Porygon combo, hopefully fairly easily, with the amount of draw this deck has access to. And attacking for 1 energy isn't too bad either. So yeah, Porygon seems like it'll be a really strong one-price deck. The new Team Rocket's Arbok is really devious, because it has an ability where when it's in the active spot, your opponent can't play any Pokemon with abilities from their hand, which shuts off so many decks. A lot of the time, your opponent just can't evolve their Pokemon, like they can't evolve their GPs into Dracloaks, Hoodoots into Noctowls, because they just can't play any abilities. And this idea of like a quad Arbok deck seems to be pretty cool. Now, there's other quad decks in the format that actually might start getting better again, like Quad Iron Thorns, which is starting to actually see some play in Japan, but I think Quad Arbok also could be pretty good. Now, in this build, I would probably replace the Pokevital A with a Neutralization Zone. That makes most amount of sense as a stadium card in the deck. And in this quad deck, you have the Team Rocket supporter engine to back you up. Instead of having to rely on like other supporters like Iono, Research, and Judge and stuff, you can just play all the Team Rocket supporter cards, because you're only playing the Arbok as the only Pokemon in the deck. There's no other Pokemon in here. You're just relying on Arbok. Arbok's got to attack that does 30 damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon. So over time, Arbok can just build up a ton of damage and eventually knock stuff out. This deck plays 4 TM Devo as a way to just get rid of all the evolutions, because again, a lot of Pokemon that evolve usually evolve into Pokemon with an ability, like Charmander to Charmeleon, or of course, we do have the Morgrim into Grimmsnarl or Dreepy into Dracloak. So that can be pretty annoying to spam TM Devo and make it so your opponent just can't play the game. And all those little basic Pokemon can't really deal with Arbok very effectively. This deck will be very annoying to play against, and I'm hoping to see this quad deck actually have some legs. So it seems like it could be some fun to mess around with. I have high hopes for Ethan's Typhlosion, because I really do think this actually is the best one-price deck from Destined Rivals. I know we looked at a lot of one-price decks already in this video, but this one truly does feel like the best one, because its engine with Ethan's Adventure and Quilava makes a lot of sense. Typhlosion can do up to 280 damage if you have all 4 Ethan's Adventure cards in your discard pile. You search them out with Quilava, you can discard them with Ultra Ball or Vessel, or, you know, just play the Ethan's Adventure from your hand to power up Typhlosion's attack. While Typhlosion can hit really hard, I think it does need a little bit of extra spice to make it a little bit stronger, because I don't think it can carry the weight by itself. In fact, it doesn't even have like a draw engine. You do have an engine with Quilava, but that's why I like playing it with Dragapult. Again, I did a deck profile video on this deck already on the channel, so if you want to go watch that, go check out the deck profile playlist on my channel here if you want to go see me go a little bit more in depth with the deck and stuff. I do like comparing it with Dragapult, because Dragapult gives you a little bit of extra draw in the deck, and you get Dragapult as an extra attacker, which isn't terrible. You already play the fire energy in the deck already, and of course you do have cards like Max Belt in the deck, which I do like to make Typhlosion hit even harder. Again, it can do 280 damage for 1 energy at a point in a game, which is really strong. Play with Max Belts, you can do even more damage to knock out other Dragapults and whatnot. Because you have the ability to have your own Dragapult, you can take some prizes that way, and then you have the Typhlosion as a big, heavy hitter. This deck seems pretty strong, and I cannot wait to try out Ethan's Typhlosion. There's other ways you can play Typhlosion too, with like the Dunsparce and Victini, or playing it with Goldengo, but I like the idea of playing with Dragapult. This seems like probably the best way to play it. All right, and lastly, we have Team Rocket's Nidoking EX, which I think is going to be a very powerful new EX card because of its strong poison-type attack, Dirty Horns, that does 100 damage. Then you put 8 poison damage counters on your opponent's active Pokemon in between turns, which is a lot of damage to be doing. That's effectively 180 damage, and if your opponent doesn't move out of the active spot, that's an extra 80 damage on top of that. And we can increase that poison damage with the Stadium card Perilous Jungle, which is played in this deck, because Perilous Jungle will let us do 100 damage with poison, which is really, really strong. Your opponent is taking 200 damage going back into your turn if they don't move out of the active spot. Being a dark type does mean you want to pair with Monkey Dory, in my opinion. Nidoking has a whopping 330 HP, making it super duper tanky. In this build here, it does play Crobat for some extra damage output, and I have seen other Nidoking decks using stuff like the Pidgeot EX, also playing it with Baby Petra, and also using Arbok. I like this build, though, using Crobat and Monkey Dory. Having extra Team Rocket supporters in the deck doesn't hurt either, like having the Giovanni in the deck, the Petrol, and the Archer. does use Janine's Secret Technique, which I think is a really good way to build up Nidoking, because you can use it alongside Team Rocket's Energy to build it up in one turn. You can use Petron and Janine also with Binding Mochi to let Nidoking do even more damage, which is nice, and this deck does have potential. I think Nidoking is a very strong card, and I cannot wait to try it out when it releases in Destined Rivals. There you go, folks. Those are all the brand new Destined Rivals decks I have in this video. Hope you enjoyed the video. Again, I could have done like 20 different decks. There's so many new decks to come out of this new set. It's a really good set for content, and it's just a lot of fun stuff to come out of this new set. Even if all the decks aren't going to be like mega competitive, they're going to be fun to play regardless, and I cannot wait for this set to drop tomorrow on Pokemon TCG Live. So hopefully this video helped you out if you're looking to build any new decks from the new set. Again, if you're new to the channel, subscribe down below. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, and I'll catch you on another video very soon. Bye-bye.